NTV's business editor Wallace Kantai spoke to the NMG CEO, that is Joe Muganda, about the rationale behind the changes.
CEO of the Nation Media Group, Joe Muganda, and some quite significant announcements have been made this morning, and we want to try and get to the bottom of what's behind those announcements. Thank you very much for joining us, Joe. Very significant announcements made this morning. What are they and what's behind the thinking?
We are a fairly successful organization. We are the largest media house in this region and in the countries we operate in, which is basically Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and Rwanda. And that has been the case for a while. But one of the things that is happening around media is the methods through which consumers are consuming our products are changing. And what we are trying to do is ensure that we have a strategy that will deliver to those consumers. So what must we do? We've looked at our assets and we're trying to employ them in a manner that befits or ensures that they're efficient, they're effective. We want to ensure that all business units are commercially successful. And to this light, what we've done is, I think the thing we did earlier this year or the back end of last year, you're all aware we've got a new printing press. It's allowing us to print much more efficiently and effectively. The quality of our product has improved. The speed at which we can deliver products to the consumers has improved. And this is but a next step to that journey. The digital world is an absolute reality, as you are aware, across the world. So what we are doing is we are looking at the way we've organized ourselves and trying to ensure that we can deliver to this new challenge, which means converging the newsrooms, ensuring that the products as we have organized them can deliver to the consumer in the manner that's expected. We no longer really break news. I mean, all the social media platforms go ahead of us in doing that. We've got to make sure that in addition to competing with that world that is breaking news, we are doing what we call day-to journalism with our newspapers, telling them the reason behind what's happening. We've got to make sure that television is relevant. We're entertaining people in the manner that is expected. You are aware that Netflix is in town and all these new competitors. So the landscape is changing, and what we're doing is trying to organize ourselves to ensure we are relevant in the 21st century.
We'll get to the issue of the printing press because it's been quite a big issue strategically.
Yes.
But specific actions with regard to the announcements made this morning, what were those?
What we've done is we currently do have two television channels. That's NTV and QTV. What we've done is we've merged the two. So we will be streaming on one platform, which is NTV. It will be a multilingual platform, so we will have both English and Kiswahili on this. And our reasoning is it allows us to have a stronger programming, a much more effective way of deploying resources. The other thing is we've looked at our radio business, and we've come to the conclusion that it can't go on as it is. So we've scaled it down quite dramatically, and what we'll have is a limited online presence on that front. And so we will not have QFM and NFM as they stand today.
The argument someone would make is that some of what's going on from a big picture point of view might be temporary. Some of what's going on might be moving backwards and forwards. Is the action you've taken today a reflection of the fact that you think that the business has changed that dramatically?
Yes. I think the business has changed quite dramatically. Anybody who thinks that the consumer is even behaving the way they behaved 2 years ago, I think must be kidding themselves. The advent of smartphones is a fact of life. People watch television and are participating on interactive feedback. You can literally watch television, read your newspaper, listen to radio, all on this one gadget. So it's no longer the way it used to be. And we've got to be alive to that fact and organize ourselves to the way the consumer is behaving. So I think there's a huge shift in the way consumers are consuming the product that we produce.
You speak about print, and it's a very interesting subject to get into, because you invested quite a significant chunk of money in a new printing press. Yes. Now, again, an argument can be made that was that the right decision to do when the print business is visibly declining?
I mean, I've heard those arguments put out before, but we took the view that if we are going to stay in print, which is a significant part of our portfolio, we've got to be able to deliver the product that the consumer wants. The old printing press we had was over 20 years old, was not operating at an optimal level. We were struggling to deliver the paper to the far-flung areas in the country. And on the back of that, we took the decision that it was a prudent decision to make, to ensure that we protect our biggest source of revenue, which is the print business. So we are fairly comfortable with the investment that we made. We think print still has a period in this part of the world, and therefore we are comfortable, and we think we made the right decision.
Let's speak about newsrooms, and I'm obviously doing this for selfish reasons, sitting here as a journalist. What you've announced with regard to consolidation of businesses does mean that newsrooms are affected. What will the news business look like going forward?
I think you only have to check the way people consume media. They probably will get it on their WhatsApp or other social media platforms first, and then they'll probably see it in broadcast second, and ultimately, for those who want to read the newspaper, that comes at the back end probably the next day. And the reality is, if you're consuming a print, so to speak, on your gadget, we've got to be putting out those stories in the manner that consumers are behaving. So if consumers are pretty much on their phones at 6 a.m. in the morning because we are checking the patterns through which people behave, and Kenya does wake up fairly early because we've noticed that people are actually reading these things as early as 5:30 in the morning. You've got to make sure that when you get stories, as you complete writing them, you're uploading them onto the system. So if you ask me how will the newsroom look like, I think it will be a very joined up thing, as opposed to having separate newsrooms for the digital, for broadcasting, and for print. It will be the backbone of this.
Is it that magical word, convergence?
Yes. It has to be converged, and people have to be working together. And I think the journalist of the future will be somebody who can basically cut across all platforms. I think the days of people having singular sort of skills are fairly limited, and we're seeing this everywhere else in the world. So those who can cut across that will be important. We've embarked on training our younger journalists to ensure that they do operate in that manner. And fortunately, they come into the system when they're already affair with the gadgets that will allow them to operate in that manner. People are very, very visual today, and 600-word articles might not be what people want to read in the future, and we've got to be alive to that thing. So I think the newsrooms will be converged, and that's the way of the future, and that's why we are going down that route.
Let's speak about some of the less positive sides of such kind of reorganization or rationalization. Are there any job losses, and what happens to the people who are in the divisions that you're going to be rationalizing?
Yeah, unfortunately, as we do this, as we embark on our new strategy, there will be people who lose their jobs. It's a very difficult moment in the organization to lose some of our colleagues. We will ensure that they're treated with the respect that they deserve. It is a change in strategy, and not that they've done anything particularly wrong. We will follow the labor laws in the country. We will give the counseling, and we'll give them the support to try and ensure that they go through this transition as smoothly as is humanly possible.
Will this be the last one?
My response to that is we are persistently reviewing our organization. And if I said it would be the last one, I would hope that it is, but we are forever internalizing and checking whether we are working. But major announcements of this nature, I don't think there'll be too many.
Final one, you do all this strategy and strategic changes. How should we measure you? At what point will we come to you and say, give us this metric or this number and we'll know you're successful or you're not?
Well, I think I'm no different from any other CEO that you find in this country. The measures will be, have you delivered your numbers? What's happening to the share price? So I don't think I would be giving you any specific numbers to look at. Just judge me by the performance of the business, as would be expected by the shareholders.
All right, thank you very much. Speaking to Joe Muganda, and we'll certainly be keeping a very close eye and measuring you according to your numbers. As you say, we've been speaking to Joe Muganda, the CEO of the Nation Media Group. Major announcements made by the company Thursday morning, and we're trying to get behind those numbers and also to bring you what these changes mean to you as a consumer and also to the newsroom.